for more in-depth discussion of South Africa's economy and response to the pandemic, I have with me now Africa Security and Policy Analyst Abdullahi Boru Halakhe. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So first, bring us up to speed on the state of South Africa's economy and how its key industries are faring.
Thank you so much. I think like many economies around the world, and particularly in Africa, the COVID-19 hit South African economy so severely. But we have to be very careful in stating that some of the underlying structural problems of South Africa's economy, including its persistent chronic unemployment, is something that precedes COVID, but now COVID has made the situation incredibly difficult. If you have over a third of over 30% unemployment rates, even something very small, forget about something in a generation like COVID, will really put you in a difficult situation. However, I think the last 4 quarters have seen an economic growth, and the second quarter numbers look good, but that is not sufficient because the economic growth has now gone back to where it was pre-COVID.
So then what does the end of this third wave of COVID mean for South Africa's restrictions, especially given the lessons that we've seen from the first 2 waves?
I think as of now, the vaccination rate's been going on very well, not well enough, because 8.6 million people that have been vaccinated is not good enough. If they need to get to 70% of the population being vaccinated by the end of the year, that number might not be arrived at. And this has got a few implications. For instance, the UK, the discussions between the president said he has had a discussion with the UK Prime Minister regarding removing South Africa from the red list. That is going to be very important because the UK still remains to be one of the biggest tourists to South Africa. And on a good year or month, you can get something like 12 million UK citizens visiting South Africa. That would be very important. I think the other thing that we have to be looking out for is the elections, the local elections that are scheduled for November 1st. With the restrictions now being eased, South Africa has gone to level 1. That means, fairly loose set of restrictions. And if that people start playing around on the margins, and we have elections where, people will be gathering together, politicians will be doing campaigns, that could be very important. Looking at the numbers, at the figures in the next 4 weeks will be very important, because that also gives us a good indication on if the December targets will be reached, which even without the elections, I think will be huge undertaking to achieve.
And you mentioned a couple of important points there. I first want to head back to what you were saying about the UK potentially having that discussion about reopening. Talk about the importance of reopening the country before the travel season.
I think that would be very, very important. And, it's not a matter that South Africa takes it lightly, neither the UK, but we've got to understand that UK reserves the prerogative to do that. The president said that this has to be guided by science. Sure, not just the number of COVID infections in South Africa, it's dropped from the record number 20,000 people per day to just under 2,000. That is a significant drop. Besides, the variant that that everybody is afraid of is not the variant that is the biggest in South Africa as of now. All that is good, but I think it will take more than just a phone call between the 2 leaders for that to be eased, because there are so many other factors that that will play into this dynamic. So I think that will be very important.
And just very quickly, we know that the continent has fallen short of its September vaccination goal. Break down just some quickly factors at play and what leaders can really do or should be doing to improve these rates.
Thank you so much. I think one of the things that we have to bear in mind is that vaccine hesitancy is not limited to the African continent. And in fact, I think the CDC Africa conducted a 15-country survey. And in that survey, a significant number of people said they are ready and willing to take vaccine. That is something in the order of 79% of people say they are ready and willing to take the vaccine. I think the biggest impediment is the supply constraints. However, that is not to suggest that there is no vaccine hesitancy on the continent. And here are some of the key issues that are playing into that. One is religion. Two is the role of social media. There is a strong correlation between the number of people who get their news sources from the social media and the number of people who are saying they are not going to take the vaccine. The second is the other element into this is also the trust, the level of trust that the citizens have with their government. The higher that number, the higher the people say they are going to trust the vaccine, and the lower the number, and the lower the number of people saying that they are going to take to get the vaccine. Right. But also there are questions around the efficiency and the efficacy of the vaccine. And I think some of these things is also being blown out of proportion. I think Africa has got a vaccine hesitancy problem, but I think the biggest impediment is the supply constraint, the cold chain room, the logistics that are involved of moving vaccine from one part of the country to another country, and as well the vaccine apartheid that is going on at the global level because the COVID facility hasn't been funded as it should be.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate you clearing a lot of that up. Thank you so much. Abdullahi Boru Halakhe there, Africa Security and Policy Analyst.